All right. Well, welcome back in, guys. Appreciate you guys joining Jake Ellenbogen live. But most importantly, I have a special guest here, Patrick Chiotti. Yes, I said your name right. Definitely didn't get any tips or anything before we went on air, but he is of PigskinNut. And with the first pick, how's it going, man? Welcome to the show.
It's good, man. It's good. Just in the middle of this move and got high school football starting up and all the craziness of camp going on. So it's a wild time, but fun time to be alive.
Hey, you must be Mr. Positive, man, because that sounds like a hell of a lot of stress, and you're dealing with it the right way. But to, I guess, add more stress to your plate, we'll talk football.
Hell yeah, man! Football is my escape. Football is how I get away from the stress. So
I feel that.
I'm always down to talk some football, man.
Well, I love it. So we got a lot to talk about. So you choose a topic and we'll get going because we could talk about Julio, we could talk about Rodgers, we could talk about Drew Lock. Now let's not do that. But we could talk about all sorts of stuff. So it's up to you,
man. Let's talk about this Julio stuff, man. This was it was a shocker to me, honestly. It's funny because I was talking on a podcast that I do with Ronnie Harder. Offsides, and we were talking about possible destinations that he could go to, and he said that Tennessee was one of the spots, and I was kind of like, nah, I don't really see that happening. And I was like, wow, okay, so I guess the relationship with the new head coach and the team management was a bigger thing than we thought.
Yeah,
but people were just clowning on the Titans picking him up. Like, what are they going to do with Julio?
What else are you going to do with a 6'3" physical freak,
Exactly.
Ran like what, a 4.38 at the combine years ago?
With a broken foot.
With a broken foot.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's still, he's 32 years old. He had injuries last season. I can't blame the guy. Like, he's been going full force for a long time.
Yeah.
But maybe this is the change that he needed. The Titans are a great football team. Even with Ryan Tannehill, the most underappreciated.
He's legit.
He is, man.
But how much of that did Arthur Smith, open up the gates there? You know what I mean?
Exactly. So I had some buddies of mine ask me, what do you think of this trade? And I'm like, man, honestly, I don't know. I want to see what the new offense looks like.
Yeah, of course.
They ran a lot of 2 wide receiver sets last year. I would assume that they're going to do the same. The power running game is always going to be there as long as you have Derrick Henry. But I think adding Julio in, I mean, who did they lost Corey Davis and they replace him with Julio Jones. That's not bad. And Corey Davis had a career year last year.
Oh, I know.
So
yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, and I was thinking about today because I forget who said whoever tweeted it. It was the top 5. I think she covers the Steelers, if I'm not mistaken. You probably know exactly what I'm talking about. But the top 5 receiver duos. And so obviously the first thing I flock to is Godwin, Evans. You look at CeeDee Lamb and Cooper, Thielen and Jefferson, Woods and Kupp, like all those guys, right? Mm-hmm. I think this is the best duo in football.
You could easily make that argument. I mean, AJ Brown, he kind of got overshadowed. I personally feel like he got overshadowed by the guy that is DK Metcalf.
Yeah,
the same school, same class. But he's just as good. He's just as good of a receiver. He's physical. He's fast. He's a good route runner. He's not the best route runner, but putting him with Julio Jones, it takes that to a whole nother level. I mean, who are you just going to double both of them and forget about the run game? Nope, because Derrick Henry's still there.
Exactly.
And they figured out a way to utilize tight ends in a way that not a lot of other teams could figure out last year. So you still have to account for that. I think putting Julio and AJ Brown together does make one of the scariest, if not the scariest, wide receiver duo. Just thinking about that, even if they do go 2 wide receiver sets, you got to figure out who to cover, man. There's so many things that DCs are going to have to think about now, and especially if AJ Brown keeps going with this trend. And I mean, we see wide receivers do this, right? They have decent rookie seasons, and then the second year if they're good, they make that big jump, and then every year after that, it's just bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's what we're going to see with AJ Brown, especially with the guidance of Julio Jones. It's scary, man. The AFC South should be terrified right now. This is going to be a lot of fun.
I agree. I agree. Yeah. And I'd say a dark horse duo that people need to keep in mind. I'd say Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel. I really think, first off, you have to get over the hump of believing whether or not Fitzpatrick is the right guy or not. It doesn't matter because he is the guy. So, I keep seeing people say, well, McLaurin's probably in for a down year. Look, Fitzpatrick may throw 30 interceptions this year, but he's probably also going to throw 30 touchdowns. Like he's going to throw the football. So like if you're like actually like Fitzpatrick is there's no way I'm picking McLaurin in fantasy. I'm like, what? Like, no, he's going to throw a ton.
You have to pick Terry McLaurin if you're a fantasy manager. You have to take him. He might be one of my favorite wide receivers in the NFL.
Oh my God.
Dude is I mean, his production on a team that has had the struggles at quarterback, has had little to no help from other wide receivers, and Logan Thomas as the tight end, his production early in his career has been insane. And fantastic route runner. We knew he was a good route runner. We knew he was fast. We knew that he could produce. But man, the fact that he's been carrying the load in Washington, and now he's got a serviceable quarterback in Fitzpatrick. Like you said, they're going to throw the ball, but they have a solid run game. So that's just going to open up more stuff for him. If they can incorporate Samuels into this offense and keep Terry as that number one guy, man, you'd be a fool not to pick him up. Honestly,
I mean, I think Curtis Samuel is going to look good too. I'm curious. So talking about Washington, we talk about the first two receivers there because obviously they're paying a premium for Samuel. He's going to be the number two. Who's the number three? Because you have Antonio Gandy Golden there, who I can't even say his name. You have Kelvin Harmon. I personally, I had a really high grade on Kelvin Harmon, and I feel like there's a chance he could be that guy, and just the injuries I think might have affected him. But who do you have in that third role?
I mean, the guy that there is a guy that I liked a lot during this draft cycle, Dyami Brown out of North Carolina. I really liked him as, he can stretch the middle of the field. This is a weird thing to say, right? Because we think of stretching the field as just going vertical, right? And we think of guys who can attack the middle of the field as the guys that can run, the stick routes on the inside. They can run the dig routes. They can run mesh very well. But Dyami Brown, like a lot of his film at North Carolina was like those deep crossers, the post routes. He can stretch you down the field and attack the middle just as well as anybody else can. I think that he's going to be that dark horse guy in Washington that is going to get those targets when McLaurin and Samuels are either not on the field or they're being bracketed. So that's a guy to watch out for. He's sneaky, man. He's sneaky.
That's interesting. And now, because I mean, I wasn't as high on Dyami Brown, so I'm kind of like, I mean, it's a a tough race there. It's going to be a dogfight to pick up those targets, and then of course you have Logan Thomas, who I remember people were like talking about him being a quarterback, and here we are now. He's maybe a top 10 tight end.
Hey, Tim Tebow has to be looking at Logan Thomas like that's the guy I want to be.
Maybe he's the trailblazer that did it. Maybe it was Logan Thomas all along.
It was Logan Thomas all along.
Yeah,
no, I think it is going to be interesting, man, because they really went from having this issue of not having enough quality receivers to now they have a few pieces that they can work with. I am going to be interested to see how Logan Thomas keeps going forward. Last year, obviously career year, big time year with a carousel of quarterbacks. But now that you have Ryan Fitzpatrick, like you said, he's going to throw the ball a lot. this offense is going to look a lot different. And I have a special place in my heart for this football team because they always seem to me like this hard-working crew of guys. You know, you got the Hogs up front, and now they have Antonio Gibson is becoming one of my favorite running backs to watch in the NFL.
I love him.
This team is going to be so much fun to watch. So I think speaking of wide receiver duos, I think the one that might come out this year, if they can keep him healthy, we have to watch for Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy.
I agree.
I mean, we have to, and that's not just because I'm a
Broncos
guy.
You're right.
Sutton's injury last year was very disappointing. It really hurt a lot of people because we wanted to see him go into year 3 with this huge production, especially because he was Drew Lock's favorite guy. You know, that he was like his security blanket. And Jeudy, he'll admit he had his fair share of struggles, but man, he looks really good. I don't want to put too much weight into it because it is camp, but Jerry Jeudy looks like a whole different beast. And if he can limit the drops and limit the mistakes, I think that we might be looking at one of those fringe duos, like a fringe top 5 duo. If Courtland Sutton can stay healthy, that's going to be a dangerous combination. But the quarterback play is going to be the key there. If the quarterback play from either Locke or Bridgewater or whoever is the quarterback can be at least a top 17, top 15 guy, this is going to be a fringe top 5 duo. I'm calling it now.
I almost wrote them in, like when I responded back on that tweet, I almost wrote them in. I think they're up there. And I think an interesting one, we're talking about, Alabama receiver. Let's throw another one out there, a guy that I had a higher grade on, Henry Ruggs, if he emerges. And it doesn't have to be a receiver duo. It could be with Waller.
Hey, I mean, are we gonna continue to classify Darren Waller as just a tight end? Like he's just a pass catcher now. Like they need to change like the position recognition to just like PC because he really is just an all around pass catcher. I wouldn't disagree there either. I think the biggest thing that a lot of people point out is especially last year with Ruggs. He didn't put up numbers. And yeah, I mean, generally rookie receivers don't. Justin Jefferson is literally a Hall of Fame caliber receiver already. And he's look.
God, what did he do to everybody moving forward? I mean, think about this. Playing the receiver position was already hard enough. And then Justin Jefferson comes in and he's like, oh, it's easy. See, you're just a Hall of Fame receiver. And now, like, poor Jalen Waddle,
I know.
Dude, those guys are going to have astronomical expectations. It's going to be ridiculous.
The bar is so high now. Thanks, Justin Jefferson.
Jerk.
But no, honestly, like even looking at a guy like Courtland Sutton, who was a second-round wide receiver, his rookie season was not great. It was not good. Year 2. And that is the trend, right? These receivers, they don't play well their rookie season. Either they're playing, the third wide receiver. They're either the third option or they're the second option. Year 2 is a big year for them. And I think Henry Ruggs is definitely one of those guys that could be in for that second year jump. It's just the trend. That's the biggest trend. I think after this season, maybe they go get a quarterback. I know they were in for Aaron Rodgers. They obviously want a guy with a cannon for an arm. No offense to Derek Carr, but I think they want a guy with a cannon for an arm who can really stretch the field with Henry Ruggs' speed. Darren Waller is a very good pass catcher in all areas of the field. Doesn't matter if it's red zone. Doesn't matter if it's between the hashes. Outside of the hash, it doesn't matter. He's a good pass catcher all around the field, but Henry Ruggs is a burner, and they need someone who can really hit him in stride. Derek Carr's not that guy. I think if they have a quarterback with a bigger arm, we see him putting up more numbers. But like, I think a lot of people just tend to forget that like Henry Ruggs' numbers and Jalen Waddle's production at Alabama. I mean, you put it side by side, and the biggest thing that pops out is the amount of touchdowns to the amount of catches. Not a lot of catches from either of them, but there's a lot of scores.
Yeah.
That means that when they get the ball in their hand, they score. So put the ball in their hands. Put the ball in Henry Ruggs' hands, no matter how you do it. I don't care if you're giving him end arounds, jet sweeps, smoke screens. It doesn't matter. Put the ball in his hand. Let the man work. So,
it's almost like running that 40 time that he ran, like held him back because we already knew he was fast. But like, I mean, I think it was Brad. I could be wrong. Well, someone on Twitter was like, this guy's the best route runner in the draft. He is, and no one's talking about it. And I came away with that, that realization as well, or my thought anyway. And I'm feeling the same way about Jalen Waddle. And the one thing that concerns me is if Miami used him the same way Ruggs was used last year, because in my opinion, I feel like Ruggs' failure last year, or Ruggs' his ability that was like held back, how he struggled, that to me was on the way Vegas used him, because they were like, yeah, come in and run straight down the field. And if you catch this, great. And if you don't, we're probably not going to use you. We're going to focus on Waller. We're going to focus on Josh Jacobs. We're going to get Jalen Richard the ball for some reason. Like, it was always that, and I'm like, you draft a first round receiver and you're like, yeah, we're just going to use you on deep throws, down the field with Derek Carr, nonetheless.
Yeah.
It just never made sense to me. And I don't feel like Miami's going to do that because, one, I think Tua does have a better arm. But two, I also feel like Miami's just going to they're going to throw everything at the wall because they know, like, you don't just sit there as Brian Flores and sit there and be like, yeah, we're not that close. Like, no, he knew, like, maybe if Ryan Fitzpatrick started the whole year, they're in the playoffs, and they were that close. That defense is ready, and they don't want to have an offense holding them back, but they also believe in Tua Tagovailoa, so that's why they went out and got him Will Fuller. That's why they obviously are keeping guys like Devontae Parker happy, and, Preston Williams, Mike Gesicki. You go out, you get, more of a committee backfield. They're focusing on the receivers. So to me, I mean, Jalen Waddle should end up being an absolute stud. But I do have that, just part of me is like a little worried that he ends up having rookie year Ruggs usage. And then we're all sitting here like, what is wrong with you?
It's funny that you said that he was the best route runner in that class, because I was right there with you. I can't remember what site put it out. I think it might have been SIS, but they basically just listed all of the route percentages for all the top receivers. And the only receiver that ran in double digits percentage in I think it was like more than 5 routes was Henry Ruggs. He ran the most diverse route tree of any wide receiver out of last year's class. This is going to be a similar situation. If they can utilize Waddle the right way, I mean, bringing in Fuller is fantastic. If Devontae Parker can stay healthy, fantastic. Gesicki's a freak. They clearly had an emphasis on making this offense something, right? Because like you said, they're so close. Get Waddle the ball in the middle of the field. Just please let him run. Let him run deep crosses. Let him run the dig. Just do it. You have to put the ball in these guys' hands. These are playmakers. Get them the ball in space and let them do work. The more you try to throw, low percentage throws, the more you're taking the ball out of their hand. High percentage throws over the middle of the field, attack the defense well. They have the weapons now. I'm a little surprised that Miami didn't go out and get a guy like Phillip Lindsay to really boost their run game.
Would have been perfect for them.
It would have been a perfect fit. I think Phillip Lindsay even thought that he was going to Miami or Arizona. But, that was a little shocking. But I do think that they have all the pieces to have a to have an explosive offense to match that defense. This defense is
Yeah.
good. It's really
Oh,
good. And you can see you know, I hate to say this because it's kind of a cliche, but you can kind of see Bill Belichick's fingerprints all over this defense.
Absolutely.
It's
No, that's not cliche.
yeah.
That's a smart observation. I noticed that. Look,
Yeah.
Brian Flores is the best coordinator that's come out of Bill Belichick's coaching tree. I swear
Easily.
I had to throw that out there, but like
Easily.
it's not O'Brien, it's
No.
not Patricia. Like
Nope.
I think he took everything that Patricia did and he did it well, but I think he also perfected it. And I think like Brian Flores, to me, if he was still with the Patriots, they'd be the number one defense. He's now with Miami, so he's literally recreating that defense that he built with Belichick. Now he's doing it on his own. So I think people need to realize that. But when you look, just even like the game against the Rams last year, they dominated the Rams. I mean, look, the Rams dominated Tua Tagovailoa. That defense was great.
Yep.
So Rams fans that are watching, don't leave yet. Like, hear me out when I say this. But Jared Goff had his moments last year. I know he struggled, but he had never looked. That was the beginning of the end, whether people realize or not. I mean, I was calling for Wolford like during that game. That was the beginning of the end for the Jared Goff era because you could see he had literally seen something that he maybe had never seen before, had no idea what he was doing. We're talking about like zero blitzing, you know, and they're just throwing guys, cover zero. They're just throwing guys at you and you can't find an open receiver. Everyone is running at you and he's just like, you know, and it's like, that's when I knew. I was like, oh my God, he's figured it out. Like,
yeah,
Brian Flores, man, like I hope he gets to coach in another Super Bowl real soon.
I mean, they did the best job at disguising coverages, especially against, you know, I mean, these quarterbacks that really rely on movement and, you know, different tells in defenses. Miami did such a good job at disguising everything, and you didn't know if they were playing zone or if they were playing man or you didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Bill Belichick does with, you know, especially rookie quarterbacks. He loves doing that with rookie quarterbacks.
Oh, he's brutal.
The cover zero blitz against rookies is probably one of the best defensive schemes we've seen. Go watch the Patriots and Jets from a couple years ago, the game, the ghost game for Sam Darnold. Cover zero disguised all over the place. Brian Flores is doing the same thing in Miami that Bill Belichick did up there, what they perfected. You love to see it. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that Miami is becoming one of these teams that is more competitive, because the more competitive teams that we have, the more fun the NFL is. It
Absolutely.
You know.
I was just saying this the other day. I think it was with Mike because, you know, I'm sitting here and I'm like, all right, the Texans are the worst team in the league right now. At least I think so. The Eagles are there, but the fact of the matter is this: I don't think it's really that easy to pick out like the bottom 5 teams in the league, because I think a lot of these teams have good rosters, but we've kind of leveled up, right? You know, we've seen teams that have gone out and gotten at Julio Jones, like the Titans. We've seen teams like the Rams go out and get, you know, a Jalen Ramsey or whoever the hell they want. And so I think because of that, it's the teams that are scared. They don't want to make that big move. They don't want to trade up and get their guy. They don't want to trade down. They just want to stay and do their thing, like a Bengals, where you look at that owner. I don't think he actually cares about winning in the slightest. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think we're starting to see that with the NFL, where it's total feast or famine. It's if you're willing to make that move, then you're going to win. If you're not, you're going to lose. The 49ers, they went out, they got their quarterback. So I'd imagine that they'll be back pretty soon, as long as they stay healthy. We're already at the 3 torn ACLs or something. My God. What's going on there?
Fix the turf. Fix the turf.
Oh,
I mean, it's I feel bad for those guys, man. And injuries are just such a hard part of this game, and it's probably one of the most cool parts of the game. And I think we saw more of it last year than anything, right? Like the shortened time. And
shortened time, exactly.
I do think you know, I think San Francisco's back in like 2 to 3 years. I'll give it 2 to 3 years. Lance is going to need time. I don't think that Jimmy G is. I don't think he's the guy. I just don't.
I'll tell you, he's not the guy.
I
I don't think he's a starting caliber quarterback anymore.
No, and I think
you know
that first year or so, when they were really getting into the groove of the Shanahan offense, and everything was good, everything was golden, and then they figured him out. And as soon as they figured him out, it was done. And I mean, you just got to pressure the guy. He can't move. They're gonna try and design stuff to get him out of the pocket, but he can't move. So all you need is a good edge rusher, set the edge well, get to him quick, force him to throw a bad throw, and like we saw in what game? The Miami game.
Oh yeah,
they put a lot of pressure on him and forced him to throw ducks, and they had them done in the first half. So
hey, I think another name that comes to mind, I don't know how high you are on him. I mean, he was my QB4, but I also gave him a pretty high grade, and that is Zach Wilson. I think he is going to have the hardest time going up against Miami. Like, I can already see like the headlines. It's going to be like Darnold all over again. I'm sorry, Jets fans. Like, first off, I think you picked the wrong quarterback. I think he's very, very good. I think he will be good, but to me, this is who I would have picked. I would have picked Trey Lance, because I think Trey Lance has been pegged at this. Oh, well, he needs a ton of time, and he's the most, like, he has the highest ceiling but the lowest floor. I disagree. This is somebody, talking to some people around that program. What I gathered is this is somebody that obviously he worked under center, which is great. But he was calling his own plays. This wasn't a guy that he wasn't a clapper. He wasn't looking over at the sideline and be like, okay, that's what I'm running. Cool. Like, this is somebody that literally commanded his own offense. And so I would laugh because, like, I'm sure you see it all the time, like the national media, not everybody's guilty of this, but some, outlets, I'll say, would be like, yeah, Trey Lance will be good in like 4 years. So I'm like, what? Like, are you kidding me? This dude threw one interception all of college, okay? And it was in a basically a showcase game they kind of threw together because of COVID. And, like, I love how they didn't, like, actually do another one. So all that showcase game did is make, first off, Dylan Ray Dunes look like a freaking Greek god. But then on number two, it just hurt Trey Lance. And I think people actually held that game against him, which I don't know how you would, but
they really shouldn't have. And I do agree. I think that Lance should have been the Jets pick, simply because
or Fields.
Or Fields. Saleh's coming in there. LaFleur is the OC. Obviously, it's going to have that mix of like the Shanahan and LaFleur offense. Lance fits that perfectly. I don't know where people were getting this idea that Lance didn't run he's not the most pro style.
Oh my God,
the most pro ready quarter. What do you mean? Go
the
watch
same thing we heard about Wentz. It's this laziness that's like just projected onto the average audience.
It is, and if you watch their games, they're running a lot of the play action boots, the naked boots, and he can run the ball. He can throw the ball on the run with accuracy, deep downfield. This is a guy that would fit perfectly into that offense. And he's going to have to work out the NFL kinks, because what quarterback hasn't? Exactly. But that's a normal thing. I understand why they went with Zach Wilson, because he does have some of that mobility. He does have a good arm. He's, from all accounts, apparently he's a likable kid. That's fantastic.
I honestly think that's why they drafted him. I think they fell in love with him as the person, and it was the worst kept secret in the NFL.
Easily. Yeah.
Because we all knew. It was like they married the guy and they didn't even see him like play. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure they watched film, don't get me wrong, but like, I don't think they went through that evaluation the way other teams did. I think they met with him and they're like, oh my God, first off, New York. This guy's going to be great in New York. He's got that pretty boy quarterback look, so he's going to be great for our, franchise. He looks young, so it's like, yeah, we got a young quarterback again. And on top of that, again, it's that personality. When you listen to, what was it? Saleh was like, he just blows you away, enters the room and he blows you away. And I'm like, yeah, but like, so Trey Lance and Justin Fields don't, like, Trey Lance playing at the Alabama of the FCS and Justin Fields beating Trevor Lawrence, might I add, head to head, the last game Trevor Lawrence played in college, and looking damn good, hurting his back and still playing in the national title game. I don't
got guts.
And that's another guy where I just laugh, because it's always like, it's this idea like, oh, well, you know what I mean? Now all of a sudden all these quarterbacks have to sit. Like, no. Like, why is Justin Fields sitting for Andy Dalton? Why is Trey Lance sitting for Jimmy Garoppolo? Throw them out there. I'm serious. I'd do it. I would do it.
I don't believe that Andy Dalton's going to be the week 1 starter. I don't buy it.
They're playing my team. And I don't want to watch Andy Dalton, because I don't want to watch a guy throw 5 interceptions. I don't care if it's against my team or not.
I don't buy it whatsoever. They did this last year too. They tweeted out the the picture of Mitch Trubisky with the QB1 or
oh my god.
It was either Trubisky or Nick Foles, and it was like QB1, and then they were replaced. They did the same thing with Andy Dalton. Then they draft Justin Fields. I mean, I think Justin Fields is going to trot out there week 1. Having Andy Dalton on the sideline is good for Justin Fields' health and progression as a NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
But if you're going to sit there and tell me that you're going to play Andy Dalton and or Nick Foles over Justin Fields, I'm not buying it. I'm just not.
No.
I'm just not going to buy it. So I do think that Fields is out there. I was a little surprised that he dropped.
Very surprised.
As far as he did. Apparently there were, a lot of teams weren't very high on him. And sometimes teams just aren't high on guys. And that's just the way that it is. It's something that they see in preparation. It's something that they see on the field. I really liked Justin Fields. I wouldn't have been mad at all if the Broncos took him at 9. But the fact that so many teams passed, I thought he was going to be gone. I thought there was going to be a trade at 10. And then he was going to be gone. I thought that the Broncos might have traded down and take, they could have taken Surtain at 11 or, whatever. But I was a little shocked that he fell as far as he did with all the quarterback needy teams, especially.
I couldn't believe it.
I wasn't expecting New England to trade up for him, but
I was hoping they'd do it, because I just would have loved to see that. One thing I'll say to you, man, is when the interesting thing with this offseason, I know you got to get going soon, so we'll wrap this up here, but the interesting thing of this offseason is when the Deshaun Watson stuff came out, and then promptly after that, we had Aaron Rodgers and we had Matthew Stafford, because basically what that does for an organization is now you have to have that internal conversation, whether you want to or not. Do we go after Deshaun Watson, Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers? Are we done with our quarterback? Where are we? And so I was utterly stunned when a guy like Justin Fields fell in this draft, when, like Mac Jones, I could not believe the way some of this stuff went down, because I'm like, the Rams got Stafford. Deshaun Watson isn't an option at the moment. We don't know if he will be at all. And Aaron Rodgers, you heard all that. I'm sure you heard all that draft night. It was like, oh, he's going to the Broncos. It's already done. And you're like, what? Where did this come from? And then nothing happened. What is it? We're in June now. Yeah. By the way, Aaron Rodgers is still in Green Bay. So whoever reported that he was going to the Broncos, that's not happening.
It rhymes with Dark Harith. Just a big former Broncos player, big time media guy in Denver. He said that the deal was all done. I think his nickname is Stonk or something like that. But
well, yeah. At least it's not that. What was it? The one guy, CJ Golson or whatever, who was making up all that stuff.
Yeah, I am surprised too that more of these teams weren't. There weren't more teams that were more aggressive at getting a guy like Justin Fields. Letting him fall to the Bears. Obviously they were one of the teams that was talked. They wanted Deshaun Watson. They were one of the teams that was interested in Deshaun Watson. A team like Denver, who has so many questions, like the position is just up in the air. And, They did try to get Stafford. You know, they were one of the big teams that was in the Stafford deal. Detroit wanted more. George Payton wasn't willing to budge. I respect that. They were allegedly in conversations about Watson. With everything that's happened, obviously that's out the window.
Yeah.
The draft night stuff with Aaron Rodgers gave me a heart attack. You know,
what do you do if your team acquires Aaron Rodgers? Do you just go streaking? Like, what do you do?
I'm going to let me paint the picture for you. I'm probably going to be in the gym when it happens. It'll probably be on like a Thursday night or something like that. I'm going to get a notification on my phone, you know, breaking Aaron Rodgers traded to Denver Broncos. I'm then going to proceed to take my cutoff tee and rip it while screaming at the deadlift at the platform.
Oh my God.
And then proceed to just hang clean and deadlift as much as I can and ruin my body, and then go home and drink copious amounts of adult beverages. I would freak out, because with the team that Denver has now, and speaking, you know, looking at this, let's not look at it as a fan perspective. Let's look at it more.
No, because whatever you're about to say, I agree with you. I can already tell you.
With the team the way that it's set up now, you go out, you draft Patrick Surtain, you go out, you sign Kyle Fuller, you go out, you sign Ronald Darby, you re-sign Justin Simmons, you somehow keep Kareem Jackson. Don't know how that happened. 31 other teams messed up there. You know, you get Von Miller back. Your defense is stacked. This is the time. You have Cortland Sutton coming off of injury. You have Jerry Jeudy going into year 2. You've retained Tim Patrick, who is probably the most underrated wide receiver in the NFL.
Mind-blowing that he came back.
0 drops last season. The guy wanted a round 1 tender, got a round 2. I'm glad he's still there. Noah Fant, and then they get Javonte Williams in the draft to pair with Melvin Gordon. This is an offense that's ready to go. Assuming that they do trade for Rodgers, it'll probably be, you know, Tim Patrick gone or KJ Hamler gone. But even then, you still have Sutton, Jeudy, Fant, Gordon, and Williams. And this is a team that is primed and ready to go on offense, but the quarterback position is holding them back. Aaron Rodgers automatically puts them into a contender role. I'm not going to say like they're automatically Super Bowl winners, but it does put them into that contention to where they could be one of those top 5 teams in the NFL. You still have to beat Kansas City. You still have to beat Tampa Bay. And the AFC West is not getting any tougher, or not getting any easier, because Justin Herbert is slowly becoming one of those guys. So Aaron Rodgers vaults them up, but I'm not going to sit here and say that they're going to be automatic Super Bowl winners, because
they'd be my number 1 team in the AFC.
The NFC West now that Matthew Stafford is in the NFC West, that division is probably going to be the toughest division in football. I'm excited to watch that. Man, what a division. Russell Wilson, Matt Stafford, Kyler Murray, and then Trey Lance.
I got Trey Lance starting the whole year and setting the 49ers to number 2 in the NFC West. I have the Rams winning the division. I have Seattle finishing last and Arizona finishing 3rd.
Seattle finishing last is something that would make me happy and make a lot of my friends very upset.
How annoying are they? Like, let's just talk about that.
How can you play such bad football?
Oh, thank you.
Just
God,
week
at least
after
somebody
week,
says it,
and somehow make the playoffs, and then you lose. Like, they got exposed. They're not as good of a football team as people make them out to be. Russell Wilson is a phenomenal football player. I'm not gonna disrespect him at all. I'll leave on this. When the draft was going, I live in the Pacific Northwest. I'm surrounded by Seahawks fans. 2 of my closest friends are Seahawks fans. When we were approaching the draft, it was cornerback or bust. I was like, guys, what about wide receiver? Oh, we don't need another wide receiver. I said, okay. You have Lockett and you have Metcalf. Who's next?
Oh, David Moore. No, he's gone.
Nope, he's gone. Swaim.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable with that? Well,
Freddie
no,
Swain.
not really. Yeah. No, not really. Okay, so wide receiver is probably going to be a top thing. You know, looking at this team, there's so many holes that are still on it. They still don't have an offensive line that's good enough to protect Russell Wilson. They still don't have a receiving core that can last the distance, because nowadays you have to have 3 to 4 quality guys. Look at what the Rams did. They went out and they stockpiled on wide receivers because now they have a quarterback. No disrespect to Jared Goff, but no disrespect to Jared Goff. But
you can say what you want, man.
But Matt Stafford is a far and away the better quarterback. I'm really excited to see him in this offense. I think that it's going to be great for him. Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods are a fantastic duo. They went out and they added more pieces. That's the recipe now. You have to have guys that can come in. The 3s and 4s have to be just as good as your 1 and 2s. So they have to be just as productive. And Seattle can't figure it out. It's run, pass, punt for them every single game. And it's not working. When is it going to change? Probably never. So I'm happy that you put Seattle in last place. Very happy. I hope that it happens. And I'll leave on that.
Oh, man, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a blast. You're welcome anytime. I will definitely be checking in on, with you. And, unfortunately, the Rams don't play the Broncos, because I wanted to bring you on for that. That preview this week or this year, but when they do, you will be welcome on the Downtown Rams podcast as well. You're always welcome on Jake Ellenbogen Live. But that's going to do it for us, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. Go follow at Patrick Chiotti, Chiotti.
Perfect.
Go follow him. And that's going to do it. You guys take care. Have a great night.
Thank you.